My name is Drew Frazier. I'm an attorney at Frazier and Oxley LC. It's a law firm in Huntington, West Virginia. It started initially by my grandfather, who passed away back in, I guess it's been 3 years now. It doesn't seem that long. But right now the law firm is my father, myself, and Mr. Leon Oxley, who was one of the original partners with my grandfather, William Frazier. I joined the law firm about a year and a half ago. I previously worked at a large top 100 size law firm that had about 900 to 1,000 attorneys. So it's quite the change to go from that area of practice to a smaller boutique type firm who is more focused on community client relations. Typically, I've only been out of law school. I graduated from West Virginia University Law School in 2015, so I haven't even been out 7 years. The first first year and a half, I did a clerkship, which I enjoyed immensely. That was always the plan, was to do a clerkship out of law school. Then, like I said, I joined a very large law firm with offices from LA to New York to Miami to Seattle. That does happen to have a West Virginia office. I was there for about 4 years or so, which going into it, they knew that my family had a law office here, that I would probably be an associate and probably likely not to stay on our partner track. They knew that going in. So that was a great experience. There I did products liability almost exclusively. I did some railroad work, FELA work, but it was largely products liability in the automotive industry, and then, like I say, FELA work for the railroad. Since I've always had an interest in criminal law since even before law school. My mom was an AUSA for many years. My dad has done criminal law on the federal side, as well as some state work when they weren't conflicting each other out of cases. So I've always had an interest in criminal law. So when I left my prior law firm to join Frazier and Oxley, that was one of the driving factors, was I wanted to engage in criminal law. Majority of my practices now, but that's where I'm focusing a lot of my time. I still handle our law firm's a lot of our civil litigation defense practice. I would say that's well over a quarter of my practice is still, probably a quarter and a half is still civil litigation. Previously, I'd only ever done defense work. Now I both sides of the aisle. Usually still on the defense side, but I have done some plaintiff work. And then, so criminal law, general civil defense with some plaintiff work thrown in there. And then the new thing that I've added since joining Frazier and Oxley is estate planning, everything from just a simple will or trust up through actual litigation involving disputed wills, unfortunately siblings fighting, families fighting. Everybody gets along until the money comes about. So that's starting to make up more and more of my practice, is estate, not so much estate planning, which I do, but I'm not an accountant, I'm not a CPA. So I do more estate litigation, and then a lot of more of what I call simple day-to-day life planning, from wills, power of attorneys for individuals in the community. And like I say, a lot of the estate stuff that I'm doing now is in the litigation side. So that's a pretty quick synopsis of where I'm at, where I've been, what I do. My mom was an AUSA. I had always been interested in the law. Went to school, college, not really sure what I wanted to do. After I graduated college, I worked in an athletic department for a couple of years, kind of getting my feet wet, seeing if that was something I was interested in. I was always more interested and more skilled as a writer than as a numbers person or a science person. And I really wasn't sure, like, criminal law is always something that interests me. I don't know, just from watching Law and Orders growing up, I guess. But that's always been an interest of mine. and things kind of just fell into place. Obviously, both my parents are attorneys, but there certainly wasn't any pressure. I have two other brothers, and neither of them are attorneys. Certainly wasn't any pressure, but things kind of just fell into place. It suited my skill sets. Like I said, I wasn't going to be a scientist or a mathematician, and I had to do something. And like I say, it interests me and it suited my skill set. So next thing I knew, after, like I say, a couple years working in an athletic department, I took the test and ended up in law school the next year. I think the law can be, on the criminal or the civil side, it could be scary. I mean, heck, even as an attorney, there's aspects of it that are scary. So in addition to being, the strongest advocate for your client, I think one of the most important things you can do is to make sure your client understands everything. And sometimes it helps even to sit down with your client and talk it through. It can help me understand something. You learn something new every day. There's always new case law coming out. So I think making sure that my client understands exactly what's going on, what we need to do, what the strengths of our case are, what the weaknesses of our case are, what we could realistically expect. I think that's a very important part of being a lawyer, and I think that's something that I make a priority to make sure that my clients understand exactly what we're doing, when we're doing it, why we're doing it, and if they have any questions, make sure they ask those questions. And like I said, it could always help me out too, because the law is always changing, and what they call it, practice in law and not mastering law. I like to think litigation, oral. I like to be in the courtroom. Obviously, as an associate in a large firm, I spent years doing briefing, not getting out a lot, out of the office. The same as a clerk, I spent a lot of time briefing, considering motions that other people filed. So I like to think it's a strength. It's definitely my interest is getting out into the courtroom, engaging with your client, the judge, the opposing side, and really, like I say, just being out of the office. And I don't want to say, not being like a Perry Mason lawyer, but actually, kind of making yourself feel like a lawyer, not sitting in front of your desk, typing briefs, which, as I'm sure most lawyers know, that is most of your time is spent in front of your computer writing briefs. But it's nice to get out and at least play lawyer every once in a while. And I believe that's a strength of mine, is being able to think on my feet, make oral arguments when necessary. We're a small firm. We serve the community. We've served the community for decades. I'm from Huntington. I went to high school, Huntington High. I left for college, and like I said, I was away for a couple of years working in an athletic department. I came back and went to West Virginia University. And since the time I graduated law school, I've moved around the state a little bit, but I've always been in West Virginia, and that my interest is doing everything I can for the citizens of West Virginia and the state as a whole. West Virginia needs all the help they can get, unfortunately, sometimes. So I'd just like them to know that I'm here to help them.